welcome to your month ahead spread for July 2020 for your Crystal Collective card reading. What I like to do when I do these is I'll talk a little bit about the crystal. I also have a tarot spread that I've already done for you. So you'll notice that I am looking at my notes. That's because when I do a tarot reading, I'm like this the whole time. Because I'm just like watching the vision, you know? I'm watching, I'm listening, I'm kind of staring off into space. And so I like to just have it in a more concise way for you where I can like talk at you for like 20 minutes or so straight rather than you having to watch me process and translate what I'm seeing, hearing, feeling. So here we go. Before I get started on that, let me tell you a little bit about the crystal that you selected. So if you're watching this video, it's because you purchased the tarot reading associated with I believe it's the first crystal, and it's a clear point, and it is Lemurian Seed. Now, what the heck is that? So, like Atlantis, right? Lemuria was this place that, legend has it, was an ancient civilization full of people who were extremely spiritually connected, who were, had relationships with the universe or gods or whatever you want to call it. And they were imparted with a lot of ancient wisdom, ancient knowledge, stuff that does not exist anymore. The theory is that back then people were way more divinely connected. And it was this ancient civilization that supposedly, like Atlantis, was washed away under the water. Now, legend has it that some of these Lemurians were able to escape. And when they did so, they took a lot of their crystals with them and buried them places all around the world for them to be discovered thousands and thousands and thousands of years later. And that's what these Lemurian seed crystals are. They supposedly are filled with all the knowledge and the wisdom and the spiritual gifts of these, the codes, the light codes, the sound codes, this ancient wisdom from the Lemurians that were gifted to them by divinity. So these crystals, for people that resonates with them, people say that these crystals are extremely powerful. And I realize, buying into that causes you to sort of suspend your logic and what might be disbelief. But either way, the crystals are a type of quartz, which is powerful in its own right. So Lemurian crystals are a type of clear quartz, and you can tell that they're Lemurian seeds because of the certain way that the lining is inside of them. And so they're not super expensive. They're not a crazy pricey crystal, but it's important, if you really want to make sure it's a Lemurian seed crystal, that you purchase it through a reputable source. You research and learn and understand ways to tell the difference so that you can be able to look at it and see for real that it's Lemurian seed crystal. You also want to go with how it makes you feel when you hold it, and I always recommend, if possible, which I know it's not always possible right now during this crazy wild time, and I also acknowledge the fact that I live in the Salem, Massachusetts area, where it's a very popular sort of witchy spot. So it's easy for me to buy crystals in person, but I always recommend trying to buy crystals in person if you're able, rather than order it online, because you want to go with the crystal that you feel drawn to. Sometimes I've gone into shops with the idea in my head of buying one crystal, and I've walked out with something completely different because it's what called to me, and I go home and I look it up and I find out what it means, and I'm like, oh, I did need that more. But when you're searching for Lemurian crystals, it's nice to be able to look at it and see the striations and really see how it makes you feel. So they make really beautiful jewelry, but you should look for pieces where they're points, like crystal points. And I personally like them raw, not tumbled. But you want to get the things like quartz that come in those sort of, the sharp points. I'm sure you've seen them, crystal points, because that's more of their natural state and how they grow. So I would recommend you, if you're going to buy a piece of jewelry, like a necklace or earring, something that's a drop where they can hang in their actual points. The cool thing about these is that they don't need, because they're so heavily encoded with this ancient wisdom and codes, they never need to be cleaned. They never need to be charged. They just are powerful all on their own. I think that they're really, really perfect for the third eye chakra. If you're working on developing your psychic senses or your abilities in that way, they're really, really great for the third eye chakra. Because it sort of helps you gain like access to a deeper insight, something beyond us, which is what the Lemurians were all about, something beyond ourselves. They're also really good for the heart chakra because they come from a place of connectedness, okay? Lemuria was all about that, and they buried them because they wanted us to, remember that we are all connected, to find them later and help us to feel united. So these are really good crystals to wear near your heart, so like a necklace, because it'll help you fight off that sense of loneliness, and it'll help you to remember that we're all connected, that we're all one. They also make a really good divination tool. I think especially probably a pendulum would be really good for yes/no answers. Okay, so that's a Lemurian seed crystal, a little bit about that. Let me tell you now about your card reading. Hi, sweetheart. Yep. Okay, so as I was shuffling, I was starting to get some information for you folks, and the moment I sat down, I started to feel like my nose was running, like gushing, and I felt like this wave of exhaustion. And now I get that sometimes, like, these are feelings that are more associated with an actual physical spirit, a past loved one that's sort of stepping in and trying to get my attention. So I don't know if that's actually for any of you or if there's just a spirit around, but I wanted to throw that out there just in case. Now, another message that I was getting that actually kind of made me laugh was to put down the ice cream. I don't know who needs to hear this, but put down the ice cream. But Spirit was very careful to let me know that this was not a judgment on your eating habits. More like it bothers your stomach and you know it and you keep doing it anyway. There was definitely a message in here for me about how it's not good for your tummy. Like you might be lactose intolerant, or there's some kind of issue for you that it's really bothering your stomach and you keep eating it anyway. And that you need to not. So clearly that's for someone specific, whoever is watching this. If you are the ice cream eater with the lactose intolerant belly, please let me know. And listen to Spirit and stop eating ice cream. Now this part's really funny, and you'll see why later. But I also, as I was shuffling, I mentally kept drawing the Death card. Now, it's funny because I was actually drawing it from a totally different deck than the one that I'm physically using to do your reading now. But that happens to me sometimes. I kept seeing it in my mind, and it felt very much to me like it was saying, that July is going to be a time of new beginnings for you. And I'll get more into the meaning of the Death card, but it felt like July is going to be a time of really major new beginnings, but only if you're willing to let go of the past. And I kept seeing the Death card associated so strongly with that. Okay, so the first card that I pulled, I asked the question, what's the energy of the month? What's this month going to feel like for me, for you? And the card that I pulled is the Five of Cups. Now, if you look at this card, it's kind of a sad-looking card. So your instinct, when you see this, might be like, oh, womp, womp, which is basically what this card means. That does not necessarily mean that you're definitely going to have a month of womp, womp, but it is a good indicator that maybe you're going to be feeling sad. Maybe you're going to be feeling disappointed. It has this feeling associated with it of like nothing working out for me. But it feels very much to me like for some of you that this is a warning, that maybe you've already been feeling this way, and that if you don't do something to figure it out and to shift your energetic focus, you're going to continue to feel this way throughout the month of July. I feel like for some of you very specifically, those of you that have your own business, or maybe those of you that were even on track to like a promotion before all of this COVID-19 stuff stepped in. It feels very much business related, and it feels very much with like a loss or a change in business related to COVID-19. Sorry, I was listening. It feels very much to me like it's related to COVID-19 for some of you, and to business or to like growth, to like your goals, your personal plans. For others of you, I feel like it's more personal, but also related to COVID-19. Like I keep seeing someone, myself maybe, really disappointed about like the lost summer. The fact that summer is not, like we're not going to get a summer this year, not in the traditional sense that you're used to. I feel like for some of you, there's like this heavy disappointment about the school, moms in particular. This is how I'm seeing it, about the school year not panning out and your summer activities not panning out. It just feels really like disappointed. It's really, really important. Spirit is telling me this like loud and clear. Put your positive pants on. Like I'm hearing that in my head. Put your positive pants on. You've got to just buck up and deal with it, okay? We're all kind of in, we're not all in the same storm, but what is the same? We're all in the same storm, but we're not all in the same boat. I realize that, but I feel like there's a lot of you out here that really need to sort of just stop wallowing in the pity and the disappointment and like, let's put an end to this now so that we don't continue this pattern and continue to have the energy of the month of July feeling disappointed, depressed, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. There's some of you out there that are really, really big on the negative self-talk right now. And there are some of you out there that I'm hearing like you need to forgive yourself, you need to forgive others, and you need to allow yourself to move on. Like this is a shitty situation across the board for all of us. This does not need to define you. That's what I'm hearing so loud and clear right now. This does not define you. So you need to do whatever you can this month to kind of crawl out of that cycle of disappointment and be focusing on the cups that are full, okay? And like take a little bit of your attention, like look how much at this crow, how sad he is and how much of his attention is focused on these cups that are spilled. He's not paying any attention to the cups that are still full. And if he turns the wrong way, you could knock these ones over too. So it's important to take care of your cups that are full and that are in a good place. Okay. The next card that I pulled, I asked the question, what is something that you need to release? And you'll never guess what I pulled. Bet you can. That would be the Death card. No surprise there. But here's the catch. I pulled the Death card reversed. Okay. So it wasn't the traditional Death card the way that I was seeing it, but the Death card nonetheless. Reversed, this card can kind of symbolize your resistance to change, which I'm going to keep talking, but you'll really understand what that means when you listen to what I was feeling into when I pulled this card. First of all, as I pulled it, I pulled them face down, and I don't flip them over until I have all the cards laid out in front of me. And before I flip this over, as soon as I pulled this, heavy anxiety. Now for me, my anxiety manifests in a racing heart, which is why I did that, but however your anxiety manifests for you. But I felt heavy anxiety attached to that, really heavy. And it felt to me like this, there's something that you need to let go of. There's a change that you need to stop resisting. And it felt to me like it was something that really, really scares you. Like terrifies you, scares the crap out of you. It feels like it's something that you've been putting off for a really long time because you're sort of terrified of the different possibilities of outcomes. But it sort of feels to me like you're being forced to. Like you can't function like this anymore. You've got to let go of whatever it is that's causing you this pain, this anxiety, this stress, this grief, this worry. If it's not something you can like literally let go of and physically remove from your life, you have to figure out how to energetically let go of your attachment to what you thought it would be or hoped it would be or should be or could be, and get into the flow of what is. That's what I'm hearing right now. So this all kind of really resonates really with the death card here, because in general, the card signifies that it's not just something light and fluffy that you need to let go of. When we pull the death card, it's usually because it's something major that is sort of a part of our lives that's defined us personally. It's defined people's perceptions of us, or the way that we feel about ourselves, or even our perception of ourselves. It feels heavier than average. It's something that really you take on as part of your persona and part of your identity. And it's going to be something that's going to be heavy for you to let go of. I don't know what specifically it is, because it's going to be different for each of you, but this feels something really significant that you've got to stop resisting and fighting and just let go. The example that I'm actually seeing is like when I lost weight many years ago. It was really, really hard for me on a mental level. You know, I just thought physically I'd lose weight and I'd feel much better and I'd look much better, and that was that. But at 300 pounds, people tend to ignore you. In fact, people tend to avoid you. And the sudden influx of attention that I was getting just because I was on normal weight now really was hurtful. You know, there wasn't this like, I think I expected it to be like, you know, to enjoy the attention. And actually I found the attention kind of offensive, because why weren't you around when I was fat? Why don't you want to pay attention to someone who's big, you know? And that's kind of the thing that I'm getting, like being big grew to become a major part of me and identify me, you know, a way that I self-identified. So it was really hard for me to sort of let go of that. And I think that I'm bringing that up because I feel like for some of you, this has to do with healthy living habits. I'm seeing the ice cream situation again. So I think some of you have some healthy habits that you know you need to change, that you're really, really hanging on to and resisting change. Okay, I'm going to keep moving on now. I talked a lot about the death card. Don't be afraid of the death card. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Okay, so for card 3, I asked the cards, what are some intentions you should focus on? What should you focus on this month? Where should you put your energy? Okay, we know what we need to let go of, so we're going to let go of that, and where do we focus our energy? And the card that I pulled for you, this is actually very exciting, despite how dark this particular artistry illustration makes it look. This is the 7 of Pentacles. Okay, and if you look at it, what it really is this crow is building his nest. How exciting. He's got a big, beautiful nest, and he's filled it up with all of these. These are actually gold coins. And so that's what the crow is doing. I know it looks like really dark and ominous in the background, and the tree has no leaves and all that, but it's a crow deck. They're supposed to look a little creepy. This card is not creepy. It's actually a beautiful card. And it's talking about building your long-term future. Like, he's stacking up his nest, right? In other decks, you might see this as a garden. It usually shows up as like a garden, and someone is tending their plants as they're growing. Like, we're almost there. We're not totally there yet, ready to harvest, but we're almost there. So this card is really encouraging you this month to focus on your long-term future. What are some things that you're dreaming about for your long-term future? What are your like big goals that you hope to accomplish? Maybe the ones that you sit back and you're like, I can't, that's, you know, sure, someday. Maybe in my dreams. So Spirit is telling me that now, July, is the time for you to start taking action toward those big, even they seem like they're crazy goals. July is the time for you to do that. Take baby steps. Say, for example, you hope in 10 years to be able to buy a big plot of land and build a house. But right now you're renting some kind of little apartment that just seems so far off to you. It doesn't seem like anything, like, 10 years is long down the road. You'll worry about it when it gets closer to it. Or, that's so far off from me. I have terrible credit. Like, that'll never happen. Spirit is encouraging you now to take your big dreams and break them down and think about the action steps that you can do with those dreams right now. To carry on with the same example, if it's that you want to buy a large plot of land and build a house, start working on your credit right now. There are steps that you can take right now to set up 10 years from now. And that's what Spirit wants you to do this month. That's where the focus needs to be. Tending to your long-term investments. And whether that means investing money or just time and energy, that's up to you. But Spirit wants you to tend to those and to continue to nurture those. Then for the last couple of cards, my brain is moving faster than my mouth, which usually is what happens when Spirit is intervening, which is a good thing when we're doing a reading, right? It's always a good thing. Okay, so the last two cards that I pulled for you are your action step cards. The first one is the Chariot. And I really love this card and this message for you because it's saying, you've got to have the willpower, okay? If you're going to take action steps, then make sure that you are focused and determined and you've got the willpower and you're doing it. You're really doing it. You want to make a plan. You want to stick to it. Think of the Chariot, right? It's like the vehicle that's going to get you there to your goals, but you've got to stay driving it. You've got to stay in the driver's seat. If you hop out, there's no telling where that Chariot's going to go, right? You've got to stay in the driver's seat. You've got to keep your willpower, put the ice cream down for whichever one of you it is that needs that message. This is like, that's the kind of action step that we're talking about. Keeping up with your willpower. And if you have a bad day, don't fall completely off track. Just let it go and start again the next day. This obviously, it doesn't go just for food. It goes for everything. Right now, my big thing that I'm working on with consistency and willpower and follow through is my morning routine. I have a morning spiritual practice, which turns into a morning business practice. And some days it's really hard for me to get up in the morning and do that. And so that's my focus now, is consistency with that. And then the last card that I pulled for you for an action step that you can do this month is the Ace of Swords. Now, this is really exciting because this talks about a breakthrough coming, like a bright, new, inspired idea. Think of the sword like piercing through the ground, like breakthrough. For me, I feel like this new idea is going to come for some of you toward the end of the month. This does not feel to me like it's something that's going to spark as soon as you see this video or the beginning of the month or something like that. This feels to me like it's going to come more to the end of the month. But you're going to need to make sure you're doing the other stuff that we talked about in the reading, okay, in order to be able to receive this breakthrough. I sort of feel like this breakthrough is going to be a reward at the end of the month for your hard work. What you can do right now to help that this card is really encouraging you to do, is to meditate. And I'll tell you why. Meditation as a daily practice helps keep your mind clear, so that you can have clarity, so that you can receive downloads, so you can have the space for crazy, brilliant, bright new ideas. It helps clear your mind, obviously, right then and there in that moment. That's pretty much the goal of meditation. And I don't mean a totally crystal clear mind where you can't think about anything, but I mean clear of the unhelpful chatter that we all get. Because it helps you to sort of weed out the chatter in your everyday life when you're not actively meditating as well. Okay, so that was your July 2020 Crystal Collective card reading for those of you who chose the Lemurian Seed Crystal. This video has been long. I don't know if I will continue to make them quite this long in the future. I talk too much. But I would love your feedback. Since this is the first series of these that I've been offering for sale, I would love your feedback. Please, would make me so happy if you would shoot me a comment or a message on Instagram and let me know what you thought. If you thought the video was too long and you wanted it to be shorter next time, if you feel like it wasn't enough and you need more, I'll take that too. But I would really just love to hear your thoughts. And just as a final word, Spirit wants to encourage you to let go of what you need to let go of, even if it's incredibly hard for you, to take big, bold steps this month, to be absolutely brave in, the difficult conversations that you might need to have in order to let go of the things that you need to let go of. To be totally honest with yourself, because that's the only way that we'll be able to really let go of what it is we need to let go of, is by acknowledging it. And to be totally fearless in the pursuit of your dreams, even if it seems so far away and so impossible. just go for it. Take a little baby step. Okay? Happy July. I hope you have a wonderful month, and